Tradition. You can't buy it. It's earned the hard way over decades and eras. On the field, on the road, in the mud. With guts and with grit, and firm belief that today could be our day. The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup is back. Our 109th edition. Still alive, still kicking, the oldest prize in American soccer. 96 teams, part-timers to major leaguers. Survive and move on, lose and you go home. So we call all underdogs, dreamers and believers. And we ask you again, one simple question. Are you up for the cup?
And then there were 9. We will have 8 in a little while as we conduct this quarterfinal draw in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. We'll get there a little bit later. Without further ado, we got to get things rolling. I'll be your host, Joe Malfa. Glad to have you with us for this one. I'm joined by MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, who made his Real Salt Lake debut in the Open Cup against Sporting Kansas City, who are in today's draw. And Ricky, I just need you to assure everybody you have no ill will from that loss to SKC back in 2018, and you can be impartial, yes?
We had a good chat with Peter Vermees early on. We did the call against FC Tulsa. We laughed about it, and I promise you, Sporting Kansas City fans, there's no hard feelings whatsoever.
Absolutely. And again, I alluded to it. We've got a few teams already through. We still need Seattle and Phoenix to settle things in a little while, so we got to get through this quickly so you can get to that game. So without further ado, I send it over to our commissioner, David Applegate, to let you all know how today's draw will work.
Thank you, Joe. Our remaining teams have been divided geographically into East and West divisions, with 4 lottery balls in each bowl holding a slip of paper that represents one of the quarterfinalists. Our 2 teams playing later this evening, Seattle and Phoenix, are combined for this draw. Each division will be drawn separately. The first team drawn from each bowl will be placed into the first position in the bracket, marked H1. This team will be the home team in the quarterfinal round. The second team will be placed in the position marked H2 and will also host in the quarterfinals. The third team drawn will be drawn into the position A1, and the winner of the H1 versus A1 matchup will be the home team in the semifinal round. The last team drawn will be placed in position A2. The winner of this H2 versus A2 matchup will be the visiting team in the semifinal round. The East teams are Atlanta United, FC Dallas, Indy 11, and Sporting Kansas City. Every team in the East Division has a venue available in both the quarterfinals and semifinals, so the draw for this division will be straightforward. Let's draw the East Division.
All right. Ricky, you do the honors. You're the one who got the manicure ready to go.
There. Sporting Kansas City.
Okay, so Sporting Kansas City will be in H1. They will host in the quarterfinal, and should they get through, they can host in the semifinal as well. And they're a team who have won this 4 different times. They are 1 title away from the MLS record as far as clubs go. 2 teams historically have 5. No MLS teams do so. They could be the next.
Atlanta United.
Atlanta United go into H2, also champions of Open Cup, winning it back in 2019. So you've got our 2 MLS sides who have won it, or 2 of the couple in this who have won it. FC Dallas is former champion in here as well. Now we draw the road teams.
FC Dallas.
They made it interesting a little while ago, going final against Tampa Bay. They were up 2-0 for a while. Tampa Bay brought a goal back, and then it was tight from there. But FC Dallas holds on, going up against SKC, 2 former winners in this tournament.
Let's see this last one.
Better be one team, otherwise we messed
There
up.
you go. It is Indy 11.
Indy 11 class in their win today over Detroit City FC. They will go on the road to Atlanta United. So, Ricky, there you have it. The matchups on the east side. I think Sporting Kansas City and FC Dallas really sticks out. 2 teams who were struggling a bit for form in MLS, 2 former winners of this cup. Maybe this jumpstarts them.
I think you look at both of those sides. They take this competition very serious. Peter Vermees, Nico Esteves, very convincing wins. And then you go down, Atlanta United, Indy 11. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes out of the East.
Sporting Kansas City walloped FC Tulsa in their matchup last night. It was 4-0, could have been a lot more than 4-0. Just total domination from SKC. They've won it 4 times, 3 times under Peter Vermees. It's 2012, 2015, and 2017. So they are heavy hitters, and FC Dallas won it a little while ago as well, back to 2016. They've really been struggling, but you've seen this team a couple times in this tournament, Ricky. They can turn it up.
And they have so much talent, especially on the attacking third. Farrington, he's coming alive as a focal point for Nico Esteves and this SC Dallas side. Like I said earlier, they take this really interesting. It's going to be a fantastic matchup between them and Sporting Kansas City.
So there's your first matchup. And again, they're the H1A1 matchup. So whoever wins that will host either Atlanta or Indy in the semifinal. Now moving over to that matchup there, Atlanta needed penalties against Charleston, but they found a way.
And you look at this Gonzalo Pineda side. Yes, there's a little bit of rotation, but they're dealing with a lot of injuries, like you said, Joe. And it's not easy going into Charleston Battery. Yes, it took going to Pens, but yet you found a way to survive and advance. And in this competition, that's all that matters.
And your heart goes out to Charleston, too, losing that matchup last night in similar fashion to the way they lost the USL final a few months ago. So Atlanta is partying on through, and it's another USL championship foe for Indy 11. Back to you, David, as we get to the West.
All right, thank you, Joe. Now we will draw the teams in the West Division. Our teams from the West are LAFC, New Mexico United, Sacramento Republic, and the winner of tonight's Seattle Sounders versus Phoenix Rising match. Of this group, New Mexico is unable to host in the semifinal and can only place on the bottom of the bracket in H2 or A2, depending upon where they're drawn. Let's draw the West Division.
After you. Same procedure, and again, just that one caveat, knowing that if we draw New Mexico first or third, they will have to go to the bottom half of the bracket, even if it's not a straight shot.
Fantastic result yesterday. Sacramento Republic.
This is shaping up like 2022, isn't it? A win at home in the round of 16 over San Jose, and now hosting in the quarters if they get through, hosting in the semis.
LAFC.
LAFC into H2, and they are loaded. They're finding their way. They're a former runner-up of this tournament. They haven't won it yet, but this might be the year. Loads of talent. Denis Bouanga and crew have started to round into form again. Now we draw the road sides. And again, if this is New Mexico, have to go to the bottom half, remember?
The winner of Phoenix Rising FC and Seattle Sounders.
So we can keep it as is, David, correct? They will go directly into A1, and that shapes up nicely where New Mexico had to be in either H2 or A2, and they will be.
And we did our job right. It should be New Mexico United.
So they will go on the road to LAFC. So you've got Sacramento hosting either Seattle or Phoenix. Again, that is coming up at 10:30 Eastern time following this draw. So whoever wins that one knows they're going on the road to Sacramento, and that is never easy, especially with what we saw last night, the very late drama against San Jose.
Heart, belief, and that's what Mark Briggs has instilled into this side. You talk about them going down a couple times against San Jose Earthquakes, never dired in attitude. Sacramento Republic, a fortress at home.
And Sacramento, again, finalists in 2022. You'll go back in the record books and see a 3-0 loss to Orlando. Never felt that way. They belonged for 75 minutes of that game before it fell apart a bit.
And it's just what I just talked about, right? They have the belief. They never die attitude. From minute 1 to minute 120, whatever it may take. You just see the passion, and that comes from the manager, Mark Briggs, and it trickles down through every single player.
And again, it's either Seattle or Phoenix, the winner of our upcoming matchup here. So it's either a 4-time champion in Seattle or a team who's made it further than they ever have now in Phoenix.
And yet again, you see the Seattle Sounders side, the little bit of rotation from Coach Schmetzer, but yet every team understands that we belong here and we can win here. In this Phoenix Rising side, Danny Stone, you talked about the adversity, you talked about players coming in as well. Reigning USL championship, they're going to be really good in this match here tonight.
Yeah, I alluded to that matchup between Charleston and Phoenix in the final last year. It was a heartbreak for Charleston, but it was the elation for Phoenix who put the star above the crest and won that matchup. Speaking of stars above crests, LAFC nearly added a second last year and lost in the final against Columbus. So I don't know if they're going to like to see a black and yellow team across from them again like the Columbus Crew. But LAFC, former runners-up at this tournament, have a home matchup against New Mexico.
Just look at the talent on the front line. Just so potent, so clinical. Don't need a lot of opportunity because when they do, they make it count. Denny Buwang, Oliveira, players that can produce that little bit of individual brilliance. But yet again, you're looking at this New Mexico side, Joe. It's not going to be an easy feat.
New Mexico's been here before, a quarterfinal back in 2019. So they're looking to take that next step and get into the Final Four.
And it's not easy going to NYCFC too. On top of a parking garage, and Eric Quill, you talk about the confidence he has for mid-side. And yet again, you look at the USL Championship side, they have talent all over the field.
And one last time, we send it back to our commissioner, David Applegate.
All right. Thank you, Joe and Ricky. Thanks for joining us watching our Final 8 draw. U.S. Soccer will be posting the schedule for our quarterfinal round at ussoccer.com tomorrow afternoon. Before I throw it back to close the show, as a reminder, we will have one final draw after the quarterfinals conclude to determine the hosting priority order for the 2024 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Final. All right, Joe, let's take us home.
Well, David, thanks again for getting us all through this. I don't know that Ricky and I could explain the rules the way that you can, and Ricky was having a hard enough time keeping up as we were going, I'm sure. But, Ricky, we do have to get to that time now where we digest it quickly as we can and make a pick. Who you got?
I think it has to be LAFC. You look at the talent.
Really going out on a limb there, huh?
Hey, you can't bet against them. Steve Cherundolo, Denny Bouanga, all those players, I think that's going to be the one that takes it.
I'll go the opposite way. I will go to the other side of the bracket, so maybe our teams meet in the final. I will go Sporting Kansas City, putting that 5th U.S. Open Cup trophy on their shelf, and they've been outstanding historically in this tournament under Peter Vermees. We'll take one last look at the brackets now. It's Sporting Kansas City hosting FC Dallas, then Atlanta hosting Indy 11. Remember, the winner of SKC and Dallas will host in the semifinal. So that's your East Division of the quarterfinal. And then moving over to the West Division of your quarterfinal, you've got Sacramento hosting either Seattle or Phoenix. That match is coming up next. And then LAFC against New Mexico. The winner of LAFC New Mexico will go on the road to either Sacramento, Seattle, or Phoenix, and they are out on the field at Starfire. We are getting closer and closer to kickoff. It is 19 minutes away at Starfire between the Sounders and Phoenix Rising. We thank you once again for joining us here in this quarterfinal draw. We ask you to go ahead and put that in. USsoccer.com, 10:30. Seattle and Phoenix to determine the last of the final 8. We are getting closer and closer. Some of these teams now, the 9 for the time being remaining, are 3 wins away from a trophy here in the 109th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Enjoy this game, everybody, coming up in just 20 minutes.